Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Taking the Lead. I'm delighted that you're here for what I believe is our fourth Taking the Lead Livecast. And again, I appreciate you, whether you're watching live or on the replay. So, many of us feel that we're living through an age of uncertainty. And as you all know, that started in March of 2020. I don't have to tell you why. But then the kind of uncertainty, or what this uncertainty was about, changed. COVID-19, variants, opening, supply side issues, inflation, the price of gas, the price of food, Russia and Ukraine. And even now we're in this sort of odd phase where the news does seem to be better. I don't want to jinx anything. But as I talk to especially agency leaders in the PR and comms and related fields, as I think many of you are, there's a feeling of tightness out there. Clients who used to approve a year of activity are now approving 6 months, or many are saying it's only quarter by quarter. So I think this age of uncertainty will continue. I think the kind of uncertainty may change. And know that when people feel uncertain, they need your leadership now more than ever. And the good news is there are steps you can take to lead more effectively. And I know you know that, or else you wouldn't be here. So thank you for being here again. If you would put in comments who you are, what you do, and if you've got any questions along the way. But I want to start with a question to you, and I hope some of you will answer in comments. What's making you feel uncertain right now? Are you at all feeling challenged leading through uncertainty? Whether that is about leading your team members, leading your peers, leading up your boss, or leading yourself. So hopefully we'll get some comments about that. So, we've captured 9 things you can do to evolve your leadership so people will follow you through any uncertainty. It's our just published 4th leadership ebook, How to Lead People Through Uncertainty. And it is available on our website, www.jacobscomm.com. Many of you have already downloaded it, and for that, I'm very grateful. So today I want to cover 2 of the recommendations in it, unless we have some comments first about how you're feeling now. Are you feeling challenged to lead through uncertainty? All right, let's dig right in. As we said, we're going to talk about 2 of the recommendations. And number 1, and I really do think this is number 1 of the recommendations that we could offer to you, is to dial up your emotional intelligence, your EI. Again, I think it's the most important thing you can do to lead your team effectively during uncertain times. Hello, Mark Douglas Wessel. Good to have you here. Anyway, I want to first start by saying this is not some let's all join arms and sing Kumbaya kind of thing. Though, if you want to join arms and sing Kumbaya virtually at the end of the live cast, I'm game. I'll do it. I love to sing. But truly, the Harvard Business Review, pretty respected for leadership, right, says that emotional intelligence, or EI, accounts for nearly 90% of the distinguishing factors that set high performers apart from their peers with comparable tech skills and knowledge. 90% difference. That's just too big to ignore. And would you believe we have a similar study at Google, where we would think tech skill and knowledge trumps all, but it doesn't. Leadership trumps all. Critical leadership skills, some call them soft skills. I don't have to call them that. That's what trumps all. Emotional intelligence, that's what trumps all. And I want to interrupt myself. We have a comment from Molly Soto. Hi, Molly. The lack of direction within communications teams. Molly, what a great point. Communications is so important for leaders right now. And I would encourage you as a leader and them to over communicate and make sure your communications is just filled with confidence, with what the future will bring and what we can all do together to bring about a more certain future. So great questions. Okay. So I think it's going to be valuable to have a definition of emotional intelligence because people bandy it around emotional intelligence, EI. Let me read you two. First, I'm going to read it because it's someone else's definition. I want to get it right. The Gottman Institute describes EI as the ability to be aware of and recognize emotions in oneself and others, and to reason and problem solve on the basis of them. Good point. John D. Mayer, who's a professor of psychology at the University of New Hampshire, defines it as follows: the ability to accurately perceive your own and others' emotions, to understand the signals that emotions send about relationships, and the ability to manage your own and others' emotions. Now, there is one thing where I depart from the esteemed professor. I don't think we should try to manage others' emotions. I think when we do so, it's a slippery slope. But if we focus on the importance of emotions, the signals they send about relationships, pick up the signals from our team and manage our own, you're going to increase your EI. You're going to increase your emotional intelligence. That's going to make you a better leader. And to Molly's point, I think a better communicator. So what's the best way to grow? Let me recommend a book, but I want you to know I have no relationship with the authors other than I love their book and I recognize it. Emotional Intelligence 2.0, Travis Bradberry and Jean Greaves, as you see here. It's on Amazon. It's on Goodreads. It's everywhere. And when you buy the book, you will see a flap. I'm going to show you. Oop, there we go. And you get a code. Don't look at my code. You can't use it. But you get a code, and it allows you to go in and take that very valuable emotional intelligence assessment. So let me tell you a little story. Those of you who know me know I love to tell stories. So I had a client who was stuck. All the work we were doing, we just couldn't unstick them. So I went to my mentor coach. And yes, I think if you're going to be a good coach, you need a coach, you need a mentor coach. I got both, and I'm very grateful for them. I go to my mentor coach. His name is Bernie. So he's real. And I said, Bernie, I don't know what to do. I have a client who's stuck, da-da-da-da. And he said, Ken, he always speaks directly. Ken, are you doing emotional intelligence work? And I said, well, I'm not an emotional intelligence certified coach. As you know, I'm an energy leadership index coach, ELI, different than EI. He said, don't worry, have them get the book, take the assessment, look at their recommendations, and you should do the same. So great. So I go to take it, and I see that it only takes 5 minutes to take. So those of you who know me in real life or even virtually, like, you don't get the feeling I'm cynical, right? It's not part of my makeup. But I get very cynical about it because I think it only takes 5 minutes. The assessment we use, the ELI, takes 25 minutes, et cetera, et cetera. So very cynical, I press submit, and it spews out my report in 2 minutes. Now, in the assessments we do, I've got to do a lot of prep as a coach, and then we do a lot of assessment work and a lot of discussion. So now I double down on my cynicism. How could this thing possibly know who I am in 2 minutes? Then, of course, I read the assessment, and I got to tell you, it was like a blueprint of this and this. They got me. They understood me. I was amazed at how effective it was. So the report will put your scores in 4 areas: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. And it will tell you your strengths and your watchouts. And in full candor, and I'm very honest in these things, my score in self-management was much lower than I wanted to be. So very practical advice. And I started working it. And I want to tell you that this all ends with some really good news. So since I've been recommending it a lot in training and otherwise, I said, I got to reread it. And when I go to reread it, I realize that my code allows me to take it twice. And that means you can too. And, you've always got to be honest, and you want to have some time in between the first time and the second time you take it. And so I've been working this stuff for like 2 years, right? As a coach and being coached and having a mentor coach, hopefully I'm working on all this stuff. And I specifically did the work recommended. Very simple, very practical. I took it again recently after a number of years. I'm very happy to tell you my overall score went up. In some quadrants, it went down a little, not much, but in my watch out area, my score went up a lot. So the recommendations are very practical if you work it. Stacy, so important, Ken. It's been minimized as a soft skill for too long, hasn't it? Yes. Let all of us in the coaching space and the leadership space, can we please stop calling it soft skills? I like to think of them as critical human skills, right? Because we are leading humans. So I'm curious, I'm going to, has anyone taken Emotional Intelligence 2.0 EI? And would you be willing to share your thoughts in the comments? Please let us know. All right, so let's move on. The second tip I want to share today is really important for leading in uncertain times. And this is setting high standards for your own leadership effectiveness. Not perfection, but high standards. I think now is the right time for you to set that bar high. Start by asking yourself, how did I perform as a leader this week? But that feels a little squishy, right? We can do better. So if you want to go further, consider, how would my team members grade me in the following critical areas, and really focusing on my toughest graders. How would my toughest graders rank me, grade me, literally A+ down to F, in the following areas? Did I demonstrate that I have their backs? Did I earn their trust? Or for the boomers out there, I'll say, did I earn their trust? You'll know that commercial or not. Second of all, did I convey that I trust them back? We've talked a lot on Taking the Lead about how energy is contagious, how all things are contagious. I know since March 2020, we shouldn't use the word contagious, but be that as it may, if you really want to build trust, which I think is the most important leadership skill or attribute, you've got to trust them back. Did I communicate respect to everyone on my team and my peers and my boss? No matter the situation, no matter the thing I want to correct or their behavior change. RESPECT, our Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, had it so right. She was talking about love and relationships. Who knew she was talking about leadership? We've always got to communicate respect consistently. 4 out of 8. Prioritize listening more than speaking. Truly great leaders know it's important to give up the floor. Tell less, say less, ask more. That's going to help you as a leader. When I communicate, do I communicate to understand, not to be understood? We have so many situations where people just want to be understood. So person A wants to be understood and person B wants to be understood. And it can feel a little bit in conflict. And that really can happen in conflict discussions. So the way to get to conflict resolution, set out not to be understood, but to understand. And if you bring that, this person will bring that. And suddenly everybody's working at understanding the other. It's very powerful. So communicate to understand, not to be understood. Next, engage to hear, not to be heard. And it's the same exact thing about reciprocity. I know many of us talk about, I want to be heard, I want to be listened to, I want you to hear me. Stop for a second as a leader and focus on hearing. And your people will respond with the same, as will your peers, as will your boss. Number 7, Did I delegate? Did I not just delegate? Did I not just look at everything that came across my desk and first start by saying, is there anyone on my team who can do this? Is there anyone on my team who needs to learn to do this, to improve their skills in this area, who needs some training and mentoring? And have I truly empowered them for success? And last, and the biggest one, did I inspire? Because during times that could be thought of as uncertain, inspiration is so, so important. Did I get people to imagine the future that we can have? Did I get them to feel it in their hearts, going back to emotion? And did I inspire them to take action? We have a question. Can you share advice on how leaders can strike a balance between setting high standards and avoiding the pitfalls of perfectionism? Absolutely. Let's get out of perfectionism. Perfectionism never works. It only makes us feel bad. It only makes us focus on what we're not bringing. That's never good. And it's impossible. It's impossible. I always say it's PR, not ER. I always say it's leadership, not brain surgery. So unless you're Michelangelo creating the David, and most of us aren't, and some believe that is perfection, in a statue, in sculpture, leave perfectionism behind and decide, I'm just going to set my standards high, and I'm going to work to get the grades that I want from my people. So continuing that thought, and thank you for that question. If the scores you imagine you'd get for each of these 8 areas, if you don't like what you think you'd get, and ultimately I would ask you to get feedback on your performance, but even if you just start in your mind and you don't like the scores you think you'd get in these 8 areas, including from your toughest critics, if you will, toughest people on your team, toughest graders, it's time to create an action plan. So don't beat yourself up for what you haven't brought, because that's partly perfectionism. And instead, think about the future, right? Number one, what grades would I need to get consistently in these areas so people will follow me? What are the big steps I'm willing to take to get there? And if that feels too ambitious, you can ask, well, what are some baby steps I'd be willing to take to get there? That taking action is a good thing. So sometimes if you can start with big steps, start with them. If that's too ambitious, start with your baby steps, and then say, how will it feel when I've raised my grades consistently in these areas? And I really encourage my clients and all of you to think about how something will feel when you accomplish it. That's very, very powerful. Too often we focus on what we have to do, what we must do, what we need to do. That can feel a little bit like homework. It can be very demotivating. But if you literally think about how will this feel when I achieve it, guess what? Your body will literally feel it. It'll literally feel it. And it's going to fill you with endorphins, and it's going to make you want to achieve it. You want to achieve it. And when you've done that, you might actually be able to skip the baby steps and jump into the big steps. So maybe I presented that out of order. Maybe it should be, what are the big steps I would take? How will it feel if I accomplish this? And does that push me into action? And if it still doesn't, no problem. Start with baby steps. That's okay. So let's see if we have any other questions or comments. Those are always good. Well, if not, I think we may actually wrap up a little earlier than planned. So I've given you some time back. But I do want to wrap up by saying these tips and 7 others are in our leadership ebook, our 4th leadership ebook. Thank you again to those who've downloaded it. And if you haven't yet, I hope our time together will encourage you to do that. I've been told our LinkedIn comments may be a little late, so we're gonna take a minute and see if we get them. But I do want to share, it is available on our website, www.jacobscomm.com. I really believe it will help you power up and lead through these times of uncertainty. And you'll notice I don't call them challenging times or difficult times, because if we view it that way, we'll believe it. So will our teams. But instead, let's be willing to view it as uncertainty. So that said, if you're struggling with leading through uncertainty or just want to do so more effectively, please download it at our website. And if you want to go further, I'm happy to offer you a complimentary leadership session. We can either focus on leading through uncertain times. We can talk about some leadership areas where you have some gaps and where you do want to improve, or maybe you're kind of rocking and rolling it with your leadership and your leadership is good, but you want to go to consistently great. Reach out to me, send me an email, Ken, a name, at jacobscomm.com. We're happy to set up a complimentary 45-minute session, and you may be surprised at what you can achieve if we work together for that time. So know that it is my pleasure to offer that to you. Stacy and Molly, thank you for that. Lisa Bishop has asked, can you place the link in the chat? I'm hoping Jordan can do that. And I do want to thank Jordan and Megan for making this happen. So I want to thank you, as always, for joining us. If we can't put it in the chat, we'll figure out a way to get it to you through LinkedIn, Lisa. If we're not connected, Lisa, or anyone on this call, if we're not yet connected, please find me on LinkedIn. I know there are a lot of Ken Jacobs there, but I'm the one with PCC after my name. So, Stacy, thank you for those nice words. So thank you, as always, for joining us on our live podcast, on our LinkedIn, on our website. And till next time, keep on taking the lead. Thank you.